recently, a firefighter lost his life. A firefighter's life was taken the other day when a madman tried to take Trump's life. That's the most important thing that we can talk about today, that firefighter and his family and the people who were injured.
All right. Good morning. Get buckled in. Yeah, just disconnect the electronics behind me. Let's see, go around the league and see how the scores are for some of these. DJT is 39.50. It was as high as 46, but I really thought pre-market it went higher. It's 54,000 shares. And we'll hear what Ham thinks. My guess is, it might go a little lower today, but if you want to trade it, I think it's going higher. Wow, Logic is down. It's 30,000, but that's the bid. 0.0254 is the bid. 0.0309 is the ask. I checked on that, and there's no real update other than the timing on the last press release indicates that it should be completed by the end of July, so that might be something. Finger is up 2 cents to 214. The high on the day is 214. It's 212 by 214. I think it's kind of low volume, 95,000 shares. Just to check on an old friend, GME is up 81 cents at 26.86. I don't see any exciting reason to focus on that. And I guess I'll leave it there. I don't know why my eyesight is getting worse. Hey, kitties never die. You're first. Which is pretty good. Hey, Zizu. This is slow. I promise as soon as I have luck, I'll get a new computer that has memory. This was state of the art over a decade ago. So was I over a decade ago? I don't know what I am anymore. Hey, AP, good to see you. How hot is Hudspeth County, Texas? Pete, I don't know if you're trying to be provocative. I did apologize. Maybe you didn't hear me. I'll do it again, but I apologize for. I can't remember I guess I put you in a timeout, but I certainly got upset, or I got overwrought in my answer to you. I did misunderstand your questions. I thought you were trying to, I don't know, maybe push a button or something when you said you brought up the U3 halt as it relates to Finger. And I was wrong, and I apologize. As Joe Biden would say, the idea that I would put you in a timeout was wrong. So my apologies. No, I don't think you're stupid. I think I was hot-headed. I'm well. We're all fighting, and we get uh, at loose ends sometimes. All right. Hey, Girth, Mike. Hey, Frank, Darren, Lee, Ralph Thon, Uncle Bill. That's what they called my dad, Uncle Bill. I guess I'm Uncle Bill. Actually, I haven't seen him in a while, but my nieces and nephews call me Uncle Billy, which I don't mind when I hear them say it. Yeah, I don't want to be boot. Isn't it something, Matt, that in the land of the free, look at that color. It's terrible coloring. In the land of the free, home of the brave, we don't even have free speech anymore. I don't know why we argue amongst ourselves, Democrat, Republican. Mostly it's rhinos, and mostly it's a uniparty, and mostly the Democratic Party has become the party of war. Bob Dole said that a long time ago. I never believed him, but I'm Bob Dole. But we've got to pray to stay out of these wars. We're not through it. We're not through it. Apparently the Secret Service is not going to change their strategy on protection going forward. If I were the man involved and I had the money he does, I'd hire independent security. I wouldn't trust the United States government. I just wouldn't do it. It's a sad thing to say, but we have learned you can't trust the United States government when it comes to the U.S. financial markets, and you can't trust our press, as far as I'm concerned. There's those of you who still listen to MSNBC, CNN, and New York Times, and I guess if that's your belief, that has to be your belief. But my point is, it's a tragedy that we can't trust the press. $52 at 4 a.m. Unfortunately, we can't get out in the morning, or I've never figured out how to do it. Maybe there's a way. I don't own it. Hey, Eddie Eagle, good day. No, that's Rixie. Is it Rixie? He's such a good boy. Such a good boy. That boy needs a big scratch behind the ear, scratch on his chest. And obviously, he needs that ball thrown somewhere. Hey, Jeff. Hi, Matt, too. Hey, Greg. Hey, Mike from Montreal. Bonjour. Bonjour. Michel. Comment ça va? Is that it? Ça va bien? Oui, ça va bien. Alors, ne discute pas tout le temps. It's the only thing I remember from any French classes I ever had. Hey, Jean Doe. Lauren's mom, good morning. Pick me up. Wow. Saint Viateur Bagels. Viateur. The one. Welcome. Frank Zara. My peepers aren't so good, and my this one doesn't work at all, but this one is frustrating. And I keep getting gout. I don't know. But I'm not complaining. At least I'm ambulatory and we're able to do this. And so I'm not complaining. It's just, life after 39. Donahue George, I forgot about him. He's great. You got to listen to him for AMC and GME. Well, remember, I didn't listen to what Donahue George said, and I've got 1 minute before Ham calls in, but there might have only been 95 shares available or to borrow. But the criminals, they just sell stock into existence that doesn't exist. And this isn't a harmless crime. That means they're absorbing cash, your cash, without providing anything to you. All right, let me see. Should I answer the phone at a better time? You are live. Are you all right?
Everybody, welcome again to as the world turns, this crazy world, what's going on. And I'll just start with the Trump stuff for a second. What happens here is totally insane. Snipers from the Marine Corps or whatever, Navy SEALs are all saying the same thing. Now, how they let a guy climb on a roof, the police all saying, I don't know what to believe anymore, but you know what? He's alive. Moving down the road, he will have protection. I believe he should get the Hells Angels and bounces from the street. He go get Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, whoever it may be, but get rid of the Secret Service. That was a complete disgrace what they did, and not checking the whole perimeter, whatever it may be. But again, the sniper missed, thank God, and now we have the most powerful man on our side. The most powerful man on our side is going to enlist people that are going to help Wall Street, like Carl Icahn and Patrick Byrne. Obviously, he's coming in. He's told you himself, William. It's on the video. I posted it 900 times. They already told him that he will have a spot in the administration, and all he wants to do is get rid of the bad guys and naked short selling. I'm not making it up. He said it right there. I know Patrick since 2006. Just go look at his work on Deep Capture. Deep Capture is deepcapture.com. Patrick Byrne, if you go back, you'll see postings of naked short selling. And then he switched over to the election fraud. He's the one that exposed the Dominion, the voting machines, all that stuff. So Donald Trump owes Patrick Byrne a favor, and Patrick Byrne wants to clean up naked short selling. And on top of it,
sorry. It was interesting. Goldman Sachs reported their earnings today, and I thought of Patrick Byrne. I wonder how much, because they have this entry that's global markets, something like that, global markets. I wonder how much of it was from this stuff we're fighting. Anyway, I interrupted you.
Yeah, it's all stock loan. That's where they make their money. People take bloodbaths in stocks. Not everybody's right all the time. I keep trying to tell you that. Even the big boys get smoked. But Goldman, Jeffries, their hedge funds are committing fraud that they fund, and their stocks just make new highs. How is it? Because they're stealing money on the back end. It's impossible. When you make mistakes, your stock price goes down. These guys make mistakes and their stock prices go high. It's like the insurance companies, William. Whenever there's a disaster, we all say, oh my goodness, the insurance companies are going to get destroyed because the damage is huge. What do? They raise the rates and the stocks continue to go higher. I learned that one a long time ago. It's the same thing on Wall Street. Hey, we're going to lose a couple of $1 billion. Well, step on the gas and rob a couple of billion back over here. That's what they do.
Trump's announcing his VP today. Go on. I interrupted your train of thought. I'm sorry.
I'm just going on to DJT. I told you they pop it. Remember the shorts? The shorts everyone knew the excitement about DJT on the opening. It opened at the high. I thought it'd be a little higher. But I did say last night on the call, that you can, I did mention the number 46.25. I'm not sure if that was the high. Give me a second. Let me
Well,
see.
the high was
Oh, look at
46.27.
How's that for
You missed it by 2 cents. You're no good.
I said that yesterday. I said, you know, if you put it out there at 40.25, you'll get the opening price, which is around, you know, probably 46.25. If you sell it there, you get 46.25. I said.
Yeah,
And there
open.
you go.
Yeah.
And what they do is the shorts move back. They let everybody come in, and then they start to push it back down. So if you were in a favorable spot, you could have sold the opening and then step back in and buy at 39 and say, okay, sold it at 46, buy it back at 39. That's $7 you put in your pocket, and you still have the same position. And that's the same theory of trading in GameStop. The retail investors keep trying to push the stock up, so take advantage of it. Sell the rips, buy the dips. That's all you have to do. It's been going on for 2 months in GameStop. After the squeeze and when the company sold all the shares, the retail investors are on Twitter in force, doing everything in their power to try to squeeze the stock again. So I don't believe the hedge funds are playing here anymore. And I think you could buy the dip, let the retail people push it up, sell the rip. The dip could be different every day. And listen, sometimes you can buy the dip and it doesn't pan out. And when it comes up on the rip, you can break even. You breaking even's a good thing. That's all. And then you reestablish and try to catch it lower. That's trading. That's all it is, trading. I told KYP, buy the dip, sell the rip. She wants to stay to when GME rips. God bless her. Good luck. But why not buy the dip, sell the rip, take the profit, buy the calls. You're involved in for free with no risk. And when it dips, you can buy the stock back and do it again. That's it. And this way, you first buy the dip, sell the rip. You're only using profit to stay invested. The next buy the dip, you may buy it and the stock may go down, but you wanted to own it anyway. So just don't be concerned about that. And when it rips, do it again. Do the same thing. You can buy this week's calls. Next time you do it, you buy next week's calls. And you keep building into it, but yet you have no money on the table out of your pocket. You're using profit. And that's how you get bigger into a position, using profit. So again, you understand that? I try to say it nice and slow for everybody to understand it. Did they get it?
Yeah, they get it. It looks like it's down to JD Vance, Marco Rubio, and Doug Burgum, and they're going to make the announcement today. I don't like any of those guys, but whatever.
None of them, nothing makes a difference. All we care about is Donald Trump getting in, bringing Pat Byrne in. That's it. What they do politically, that's a different world. We want them to do is to clean up the equity markets. And Donald Trump has the leading expert in the world, Donald Trump, Pat Byrne, as the guy to do it. You can't get a better person to do it. His background, he grew up with Warren Buffett. His father sold Geico to Buffett. This guy worked with the biggest, the best. He's a straight shooter, and he tells you straight from his mouth what's going to happen. And now all the people here who keep telling me, how do you profit from it? Well, find your own stock, whatever it may be, and that's how you profit from it. All right. So I can't tell you which one you want to do, but that's up to you. All right. But again, I know what I'm following. I've been following one stock for 5 years. I'm picking up these other names because they're more volatile and they're institutional stocks. So you get more action in it. FingerMotion is not an institutional stock yet. But when it does become an institutional stock, if one person calls me up and tells me they don't know how to buy the dip and sell the rip when this thing starts to go in play, then shame on you, because you got enough experience to hear me talk about that every day for a long time already, right? So the same thing will happen. The same thing will happen when it's time for FingerMotion to become that big play. It's the same pattern. Buy the dip, sell the rip. Buy the dip, sell the rips. And that's going to happen in FingerMotion also when that goes into play. And for those who don't listen, I'm close to Pat Byrne, and I can guarantee you FingerMotion's getting through the gateway. If GTI can ever build a fundamental story, because Pat Byrne will frown on a non-fundamental story, if they ever get their ass together, I'll drag that into it. But FingerMotion is going through the doors first. Pat Byrne understands short squeezes, and we've all seen it happen in GameStop and in AMC. So those I don't believe will be high priority names. I think DJT will be, and I'm sure there's other names that they'll be looking at. Any questions, William?
Well, one gentleman pointed out this morning on DJT there were only 95 shares to borrow. George Donahue apparently said that. And yet they were able to sell the hell out of it.
Sell the hell out of it. Listen, sell the rips, buy the dips, George Donahue. You can do it. You can see it. It's easy. If you are trading, you have 1,000 shares, you came in long. First of all, we've been pushing it every day from 26 up to 33, 34, 35. It doesn't make a difference. Even if you paid 40, you got your chance to sell it at 45, 46 today, and you reestablish it, put 5 points in your pocket, it pulls back to 39. You buy it back at 39 minus the $5, you now own it at 34. That's how you invest. If you want to be the Statue of Liberty, then you just buy it and hold and wait. That's the other way to do it. And the GameStop people want to do this diamond hands, where I keep trying to tell you, screw diamond hands, make money for yourself. 100 days, 500 a week is 2,000 a month. You can rent a car, you can lease a car, you go on vacation every month for $2,000. Just buying and flipping. That's all you have to do. That's $100 a day. $500 a day is $10,000 a month, right? $2,500 a week, 4 weeks, $10,000. You can live on Madison Avenue with that, $10,000 a month. Go ahead, Wade.
I don't see other questions.
Well, then I'll just keep going.
There was something I was going to ask you, but I can't remember it. So go ahead.
KOSS is now the cheaper of the bunch. So buy the dip if you want to play something safe. If you do buy the dip, you want to buy 1,000 shares, you could buy 300, 300, 300, then 100. So you average in, because I don't know what the bottom's going to be. You know the naked shorts there. You know they'll turn it again, and they turn it back up to 13. You have to sell it. You can hold on to, if you buy 1,000, you can hold on to 300 and sell 700. And this way, if you think it's going to the moon, you can stay there. I know nothing about KOSS, but that's how I would trade. I would be buying the dips, sell the rips. FingerMotion is an accumulation stock until it becomes the buy the dip, sell the rip trading pattern, which it hasn't had. Again, I posted before, William.
Yeah.
I said, FingerMotion, let's recap the last 2 months.
Down?
Company,
let me guess, down?
Company rings the bell at the NASDAQ, stock goes down. The company gets a deal to get a piece of the charging stations, which they didn't have to spend a penny on, using an app. They make money from people just buying the electric from the company, from FingerMotion, and catching a spread, charging their cars up in China. What happened? Stock goes down. The company now announces a nationwide contract for the emergency response. All right. William said that he knows that by research, there's over 2 million fire trucks and police, I guess, right, William?
Yeah, well, that's what it said on Google. I just did a Google for
So
emergency vehicles.
And then add in electric company, gas companies, the road repair. Who else knows? Whatever else they're adding in.
How about Jeeps and tanks and military vehicles?
I hear that. I heard that the number's north of 5 million. That's how many things they have to install. Now, they're not going to do it in one day, but that's what the number of the contract is. It's a nationwide alert system. So instead of just your local town in Long Island having the local firemen or the police having an alert system, whatever's happening there, everyone will be able to see. And they can assess the threat, right? That's what China's doing. And FingerMotion was appointed this contract. They must have wrote some essay in there to get that deal, right? What they had to do. Either that or they knew someone very powerful. I think we can all figure out how they're getting these contracts. They know very powerful people. Very powerful people have knighted this company to be the next big player. It doesn't happen in 2 minutes. They just can't just say, here's a couple of $1 billion. But doing these contracts and the other ones that they have from the top-up minutes. People, they're selling the data from the Chinese telecom. No one can even go in that building. FingerMotion gets that data. Look at Snowflake. It's a 60 billion market cap company from data. PLTR is a data company. I forget how many billions of dollars that company's worth. Then they got the cell phone insurance from AIZ, Munich Re, Pacific Life Re, the charge ups at the phones, and you have a stock that just keeps drifting lower. If you can't see the fraud, the manipulation, then you're blind. And it's just a matter of time. And I'm telling you, 84 days, trading days, until Donald Trump's the president and Patrick Byrne's getting in. That's our guy. We have Patrick Byrne, the most knowledgeable guy on naked short selling, who hates the naked shorts, and the most powerful man in the world, who they can't even seem to kill. They tried everything. Now it turns. Now they're going to roast alive. And for the people that are still playing in DJT stock, Devin Nunes put out a story. Naked short sellers are manipulating their stock. They said it out loud. They call for investigations, and it will happen. I wish I could tell you the second. I don't know. I've been tipped on it that it was coming, and the timing was wrong. I don't know what happened. But now with all the crazy shit going on with Trump, I don't know the timing of anything. The only timing I know is 84 trading days, all right, and 40 days to college football, Florida State against Georgia Tech. Those are the 2 days I know.
Would you be buying DJT now, or do you think it pulls back?
I would only buy it. I would only buy it if it pulled back. I don't know what the low was today. Told you could buy the dip if you wanted to buy it. If you're going to buy it, you buy 20% of what you want to buy. You want to buy 100 shares, you buy 20 shares. And as it pulls back to 39.5, you buy 20, 39, 20, 38, 20. And you hold on to 20 shares in case they break it to 37. All right? But then when it turns, and you got, let's say, 800 shares at 39 average or 38 average, when it runs to 43, 45, you sell it, and you take the profit. You could buy the 50 calls, and you don't have to worry about it again. Having a free position that you believe in without having your original money into play is you can't get any better than that. And you can't think of profit as your money because there's always risk in the game. So you're just playing with their money, like people do in the casino. Have that mentality. I told you I had some guys that I met in the park playing pickleball. They all sold their DJT this morning, north of 40, they told me, and they started buying FingerMotion. I told them about DJT. They couldn't believe it when I told them what it's going to do, and they all sold into it this morning. And they're buying FingerMotion. And they're all thanking us.
How does the stock squeeze if everyone buys the rip and sells the dip? I don't know. You got that backwards. Retail selling on up moves helps shorts. Look,
well, listen, no.
We're not big enough to affect what happens.
Listen, there's people here that need to make a living.
Wow. DJT is 30. Oh, sorry. It just went over 40. Now it just pulled back. Anyway.
Well, listen, they're using options to hedge. They buy the calls, they short the stock, gives them a volatility spread. Listen, there's people that need to make a living. People buying the dips, sell the rips, that's no one's going to hurt. The short is 230 million. If you were, the people I know are not doing that, and they're wealthy people, they're not doing that. But people that need to make a living, who can't afford it, just go look at some of the people in MMTLP who have been trapped. Even in GameStop, people have been trapped. I spoke to a gentleman the other day, he got stuck in AMC and lost money, a lot of money. So if you can keep trading it and supporting your position and stay alive and keep your position, that's a great thing. It's up to you. When they do go, you'll know when it's going to go. And you can say, hey, you know what? I paid $2.25 for this thing on the dip on FingerMotion. All of a sudden it's 7 bid. You're going to sit there and say, you know what? I bought 1,000. I'll sell 200 because that basically gets all my money off the table. And I'll hold on to 600. That's not going to hurt the stock. And once it starts, it won't stop. Remember, it's one short, and that network doesn't have the money, because that's why they keep trying to hold it down. The company just came out with good news. They hate it because guess what me and William are doing? Reminding you, read the news, read what they have. Now, just a little tidbit here. We've been here mumbling that it's over 5 million. William knows it's north of 2 million. Let's stick with 2 million, right? The install is 2 million trucks nationwide. What if I told you it's going to cost $100,000 per car? And FingerMotion can make anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for each install.
Wow.
What if those numbers are real? Which is, by the way, what I've been hearing. What's 10,000 times 2 million? I don't know, William.
I got to do it because I'm terrible in my head.
Is it $2 billion in profit?
No, I think it's more than that.
Is it 20 billion?
Times 2 million, 20 billion. And that's profit.
So let's cut it again. Let's say it's $5,000 for each install. That's 10 billion, right?
Yeah, 10 billion.
Well, listen, think about the people playing on the short side in this thing.
They've got
And I told
52
you-
million shares outstanding. That's
How much is that?
$192 a share over time.
And just think about, I told you, a major brokerage firm, my friend works on the institutional desk. His firm called FingerMotion and wants them to come in and present. My friend saw it on the calendar, called me up and told me. And I had no idea that they were presenting to them. And it's not to raise money, it's to teach the institutional people about the company. So that's coming up. So again, what idiot is going to keep shorting a stock that Benchmark said is worth 5 2 years ago, and the company's only got more contracts, and it's worth 5. So I'll give it to you. I'll just say, let's stick with the $5. It's $2.15. Who's selling it down here? Nobody I know. You tell me. How does the stock never go up? It just keeps getting more sellers, washing trade, you name it, we see it. These idiots are so stupid, they should at least let it go to 5. Then we wouldn't have anything to say until we get another research report. But as of right now, we can all see the research report says $5. And it's $2.15. $3 below. The stock is 80 cents lower than I paid for it in 2018 when the company just had the top-up minutes. Just starting out. I read 50 contracts that they have and the stock is lower. We know who the short is. I put it up on Twitter. And I want Donald Trump and I want Pat Byrne to actually look into Jeff Easton and his buddies. We want to see their bank accounts, their wire transfers, their cell phone records. We want to see Benchmark. When did FingerMotion contact Benchmark and Benchmark introduce them to Lynn Partners, just like K&W. Benchmark is the middle person. Does anyone see the pattern? Who's delivering all the people to their death? Benchmark. And you know, when Benchmark gets the call that someone's looking for money or someone introduces them to them, they start shorting it. Benchmark starts shorting it. Or maybe Benchmark is doing it for the shorts for Lynn. I don't know. But their wire transfers, everyone's doing this to make money. And I can't wait to expose all of them in a court of law. And it's funny how they always expose that. They catch these guys with accounts everywhere. And that's what's going to happen here. They can sit here and play all the games they want. It doesn't bother me that it stays still. When the time comes, they'll get roasted. What's the volume on FingerMotion, William?
So do you think when you're on the pickleball court, you should let it rip? Let's see. 99,610.
The stock is unchanged?
No, it's up a penny. The bid is 213, ask 214, 4 by 10.
So every day every day they're going to sell 50, 60,000 shares every day. As soon as buying comes in, the sellers wake up. They can't let it go up. Just write it down, people. Why can't these shorts let the stock go up? It's margin, because if the stock goes up, they have to put up more money. And that's why the race is to always push it down.
I think it's also because it will trigger buy signals on other desks around Wall Street. Maybe
it's momentum. That's it.
Momentum. Yeah, momentum.
That's another part. If they don't want momentum,
yeah,
momentum will equal margin. Now we've been calculating the short squeeze trigger. That number was 474 6 months ago. I believe it's down to around 410. Every day they sell stock here, it keeps chopping into that number. It may be down to 411 tomorrow. It may be down to 410 and a half. It just keeps going lower, because remember, if they're selling stock at 2, all right, they could be selling twice as many shares at 4 to get the same money, right? At 2, right? They got to sell twice as many shares.
That's it. And then what they're able to do, no matter how good the news is or the potential news, per share, it becomes ho-hum. That's what they did with MULN, MMAT. Just go down the list. Hey, KYP's here. She's going to let it rip on the pickleball court. When you dip, she's going to rip.
That's okay.
She's just saying hi to you.
I know. I was playing with a woman today, early this morning, against a husband and another guy, and they hit the ball hard at her, and it broke her fingernail. And she looked at me. She goes, "I'm mad now." I said, "Don't worry about it. Which one's your husband? Who hit you?" "That guy. I nailed him for her." I said, "There you go." She goes, "Thank you."
Were the fingernails real?
I don't know, but it broke. I heard her moaning about it. It cracked. She got it good. I tell him, hit it at my ugly face. I don't care. Listen, it's 95 and humid in New York today. It's a tough day to play. And afterwards, William, I have to go to the gym and do my leg exercises. So if I decide to get the knee surgery, I can go in strong and come out faster. The only thing I can't do is go into my green pool, the green machine. It looks like a lake. No more questions? That's it?
I'm looking. I mean, there's some political questions. I noticed that...
all I can tell you is that GMGI, KNW, anyone that owns those stocks, you have to be criminally insane. They've done deals. The CEO sold out the shareholder bases of both those companies without doing their homework and did deals with Link Partners. You have to be insane. If anyone you know owns that stock, tell them to beware, do your homework. That's just like when they tell you, don't step on the third rail, they're tracking and electrocuted. These guys, the CEOs are throwing all the shareholders on that track and burning them all up. They're unregistered, toxic debt spiral lender. And the reason they remain unregistered, because they don't want anybody to see what they're doing. But the SEC is going to bust these guys shortly, so it's just a matter of when. And I put up about Dan Bongino. Someone wanted Dan Bongino to be the head of the FBI or the Secret Service. And I said, "Oh, we have another ally." And I put his picture up because he's tied to RUM. They've been naked shorted, RUM. So it looks to me that we're filling the cabinet and the people around Trump with our people. How's that one? I was with Dan Bongino. I have a photo of me and Dan Bongino because I was bringing a message from another Secret Service to him. I did it. Took me 6 hours of driving to do that. How's that one? So you people, you think I just sit around with my finger up my ass all day, which is not a bad idea, William. But I go out and I work hard.
The image. Ugh.
Hey, come on, we got to. We can't make fun of ourselves, then we can never have fun.
Amjad's in New York City all week. He could meet you for pickleball players.
Who's it? Who?
I think I'm saying his name correctly, Amjad. He came to sit with us in Atlantic City.
He doesn't want to play with me.
He will give you advice. He'll sit and give you advice, though.
I would love to sit down.
He's good at giving advice. Amit. It's Amit. Darn it. I'm sorry. I get it wrong. Amit.
He loves to eat. He's a great guy to go to dinner with. He's pure class. I would go with him anytime. I know he's not taking me to the hot dog stand. That's for sure. Pure class, that guy. From Chicago, right?
He'll take you for prunes and a little bit of cream of wheat.
And then he'll run out on the check.
And you can take your dentures out at the table. He doesn't mind.
I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can come meet him this week. I'll reach out to him privately. Thank you.
Hey, Eunice. Someone's saying check your phosphate levels in your pool.
Yeah.
Do the birds poop in it?
No, you got to check your pH up, down, all these stupid chemicals.
Make sure you go. He's saying he'll go to the restroom. Make sure you go to a restaurant that doesn't have a back exit.
Hey, listen. The funny thing is, I like to run on the checks too, so the both of us will be running at the same time.
HUMA. Have you heard anything? That's interesting. It's stem cell research, bioengineering, and there's a big regulatory decision on August 10. It's interesting. I don't know anything about it.
Do me a favor, just write that down for me and write that down for me so I can pay. I want to read up on that if you can. Just write it. I'm outside, so if you can, just jot it down.
Huma,
that question.
Stem cell.
All right, that's all. Just
when
you get a chance.
Okay.
I'm not focused on new things. I'm doing that. That's why.
I know.
Hey, people, keep an eye on Kodak. It keeps sneaking up to 6, right? Even whatchamacallit,
is that one of the billion share short club?
Yeah, it's a billion share short. I have a very big investor who owns it around $6. Maybe 600,000-700,000 shares.
We used to have a guy here named Anyway, he used to talk about it. He hasn't been here.
Yeah, I have a friend that's in it. He got about 600,000 at 6. He wanted to sell it last time and it went above it. I told him, wait, I think the opportunity is going to come. So he's still standing. It's the only reason I still watch it. And I know it's a billion shares short. What was the other one I wanted to talk about that's popping its ugly head? Wolf.
Yeah, somebody asked yesterday and I forgot to ask you.
Yeah, I see all the Bitcoin miners turning up again. And, I just think that you got to pay attention to that again. Listen, my friends made 65 million in Wolf, by the way. They bought it below $1 when we were talking about it. I don't know how long ago it was, but they stayed and they sold out on the last surge between 550 and I guess 6 something, but they all got out. I met with the people from Wolf, lights out. These guys, they're the ones that created Mara, M-A-R-A. They created Riot, R-I-O-T. They got into Wolf, and they are experts on power. They create nuclear power. They have a deal. They're the only ones that have the cheapest power supply. These other companies have more Bitcoin miners, but these guys are catching up, and they have the cheapest power. So it's just a matter of when they become the leader. Anyway, let me recap the FingerMotion story for you. Things that I see upcoming. I really hear the numbers are massive. I hear the number of cars and trucks and whatever else they have to put this stuff into is. I'm hearing north of 5 million. William says it's already on the tape that there's 2-point-something million. So
I just Googled it.
I'm just saying, that's on the tape. That means, that it's there. You already seen that before. For I know they got to do in each city, the utility company,
Finger is 220, 216 by 217, 2 by 3. High on the day, 220, 117,000.
Just think about having to buy back 1,730,000 shares, the real short, and the only sellers are out there at 200 and 300 shares. Now you know why the naked short keeps covering the real short, because he knows he's going to get destroyed. Because the real short, even though it looks to us like they're covering, and just mark this down, everybody. All right, William, KYP, write this down. When the real short is flat, I can guarantee you, if they are able to get flat, when the real short is flat, the bears are going to come out and say, you see, the real short covered. Now what? That Ham and William are two pumpers and scumbags and say what they want. But we all know the only way the real short is covering is the naked short is selling to him. Because what you see right now in the market with no selling, this little 200 shares back and forth, that's pretty normal. That's how the stock should be trading, is like this. But whenever it starts to move, then the sellers come in to try to stop the upward momentum, because the real short, which I believe he's short at like 275, there's 50 cents between here and he's in the red. And each day that he doesn't cover his 1,730,000 shares, he has to pay a fee. And he's trying to lower that fee by covering his position and moving it from the real short to the naked short. It's sort of like an accountant. They're just moving it from one part of the balance sheet to another. All right, but they still are short.
You're a little short, aren't you, buddy?
Yeah.
120, the volume. 216 by 217.
Wait, so we just went from 199,000 to 120, and the stock is 216, 217 with no trades really, and it's all of a sudden the volume exploded 20,000 shares.
You got it.
That's so interesting.
And the
trades
trades seem to be real trades, not 10 shares, 7 shares. 385, 355, 752, 100, 200, 100.
It's just amazing that the volume starts to explode when the stock's up 10 cents, 5 cents. Who's rushing to sell it?
Well, if you're right, what you said yesterday, which I don't know why, the way I heard it was end of August. You're saying by the end of July, FingerMotion is going to be meeting with a significant institutional brokerage firm in New York City. I mean, come on, guys. That's huge. It's huge.
You say July because I think you got tennis on your mind, because your guy got his ass beat, right, by the Spaniard, right? So now you're crying that your old age tennis player is done.
Just means I'm old age.
I saw him running around. There was a fork in his back. That's how done he is.
Yeah.
You can't play with these young kids. Move on, William. He's going to go to U.S. Open. He'll be out soon. He'll be out in the second or third round. That's my prediction for the U.S. Open if he does play.
He's got to go to the Olympics first.
Who's Harper? Who's Harper for VP? Who's Harper?
Harper?
Who's Harper? Is that one of the
Bruce
VP
Harper.
people?
Is that one of the baseball players? Or Bryce Harper?
My friend just said Harper for VP. I don't know.
Oh, Harper for VP. Let's look it up. I don't know who Harper is. Is that the guy from North Carolina?
Oh, he's just sending me. Oh God. I'm sorry. It's a joke, William. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a joke.
Yeah. My friend from Michigan is playing a joke on me.
Well, he got you.
He got me.
The woman sitting behind Trump during the attempt goes viral for very strange behavior. Yeah, well, the whole thing was strange.
Well, what did she do?
It looks like she just sat there. Let me see what she did. I got to open the story. It's clickbait. Viral footage shows an unidentified woman wearing sunglasses pulling out her phone as shots rang out. She did so while everyone else was still down on the ground. It's been viewed 19 million times. Conspiracy theories.
Well, listen, I don't know if anyone's ever been around gunfire before, okay? But growing up, I was, and I heard it. And trust me, everyone hits the ground like they're doing push-ups real quick. If you're standing up, you gotta have some, you have to be really, you have to really be strong to stand there and listen to that. Just watch the video when people shoot guns in New York City. Everyone shoots them and running because they don't want to get shot. So someone to stand there like that is just amazing.
Somebody put out a meme. If you think this guy outsmarted the Secret Service, I have some oceanfront property in Arkansas for sale. He doesn't look like he could outsmart the Secret Service.
It's like they told him where to go. We all looked the other way. It's just too crazy. And it's a disgrace what they tried to do.
There's a term that I didn't hear before. Stand down, let it happen. Just let it happen. Maybe. I don't know. We're never going to know. Well, we still don't know what happened to Kennedy.
What's going on here? It's going on in Naked Sean Selly. Everyone is standing down, correct?
Right.
Gensler, Chris Cox, everyone, every SEC commissioner has done the same thing. Stand down. They all done the same thing. And now it's payback.
KYP says she lived in do or die Bed-Stuy. I'm skeptical. I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I guess.
Listen, if you don't listen, she knows if someone shoots a gun, no one's sitting around taking pictures.
Right.
I don't know. And the guy behind him was dead. And there's other two people, I don't know who they were shot. I watched them carry that poor guy out.
They weren't worried. They weren't worried. It's like they were ready. My own opinion is they had to shuffle the speech that Joe Biden already had ready because it didn't happen the way he thought it would happen. But call me a conspiracy theorist.
All right, let's get off of this. I don't want to talk about this. It's over with. It's over with. The protection is going to be 100 times stronger. I don't believe there'll be no more attempts. I think it's over with unless they poison them. Elon Musk put a good picture of Caesar at a family gathering.
Hey, too, Brute.
Everybody was stabbing him. But anyway, listen, I'm not here for that. I care about the safety of my family and making money. All right.
122,000.
What?
Shares. 214, 217.
When someone comes in to buy, it's met with selling immediately, and then a sudden it stops trading. Does anyone see that crazy pattern? Is because they know that if someone goes to buy stock and there's no selling, the stock is going to be 250 to 275 in a blur. All right. And it's coming. I can guarantee you, I will get a seat with Pat Byrne and FingerMotion will be here because I've documented everything. I'm not making stuff up. I have the proof, the times, everything. And I have the history with Pat Byrne. So walking in is not like I'm walking in and say, sir, can I pitch you on this stock? That's not happening. If I'm speaking about it, he knows that I'm real. That's all I need to know.
He's going to wonder how you got that haircut with a hole in the middle.
He made fun of it already. That's the first thing he did when he last time we saw me in Miami. He didn't say hello. He goes, what happened to your hair? I had beautiful hair. It was flowing.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And you used it every night.
Every night.
At the Studio 54.
I wore my Beyond Borg headband when I played. I was the full deal, real deal. I had my Fila. I used to wear the tan Fila outfit that Beyond Borg used to wear with the red on it all the time.
Oh yeah,
the red and the cream.
I remember it well.
Anyway, so FingerMotion, whenever there's a buyer, there's selling. There is no selling. As you can see, there has been no selling. Every day, the naked short in the stock is between 50 and 60, 70,000 a day. And if you do it, you say, okay, 5 days a week, 250, it's $1 million a month. Every month goes by, I stopped adding at 230. I don't even add anymore. We know they're not covering. You can see yourself. You know, people always say to me, how do you know they didn't cover? Well, just watch the stock for now. I don't see them covering one share. So people that come in to buy, they short some more. At a 120, at a 122 today, I didn't see all the trading, so I'm going to have to assume, I know people that bought size, I would say at least 80,000 was buying today. So the naked short will be 80,000 out of 122. I didn't see if they washed it. I really didn't go through time and sales, which I can do in a second. But again, just go to freerealtime.com, freerealtime.com. Put the symbol in. You can get nice time and sales. You don't have to pay extra for it. It's right there. And you can get time and sales. And let's see what they've been doing here. All right, there was 200 traded at 214.77. Someone was probably trying to buy it at 217. They sold it short at 2477. 80, 37, 69, 2, 100, 7, 100, 100, 500, 1, 2, it's not 1, 23. This isn't the sign of a real, who's selling stock like that? I'm looking at Canadian Colin Hetherington, a co-defendant, was also to pay more than 215 million. Former trader sentenced market manipulation. A former trader for a group of hedge funds was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for participating in a scheme that manipulated penny stock prices in order to inflate the hedge funds' reporting profits. Wow. Who knew? I'll retweet that for you guys. Who knew that? All right, so again, you know, this whole thing is ridiculous. And, you know, the cat's out of the bag as far as naked shorting. KYP is an expert on it. All the people in GameStop, AMC. The only difference in those names is that the companies already sold out to the shorts. It's not a crime. They did the right thing. They raised $4 billion. GameStop raised $4 billion. Every hedge fund on the street knows that the shorts bought the stock from the company. AMC did the same thing. They raised a lot of money also. Who bought the stock? The shorts did. How do we know? Because we've never seen any major filings on the long side. If Carl Icahn or anybody buys a major position like that, the first thing they do is file and tell the world that they bought a position in it. GameStop's the only one that 120 million shares were sold, and not one person was proud enough to say they owned it, except Roaring Kitty, who lives in his basement, but all of a sudden has 9 million shares. That's a different story. I can't figure that one out either. But good for him. He left it. It went from $24 to 80, back down, and he didn't sell a share. So I don't understand what he's doing, but if you guys in GameStop understand it, good luck. It's over my head. I can't figure it out. If you're following GTII, follow Richard Hoffman. He'll bring you up to speed. He's trying to kick out management, all the management. So don't ask me about the new guy in there. Richard knows that he's just the stooge for the old CEO. He's probably taking instructions from him. So everyone has to go. Let Richard and his team of lawyers work on that. They're doing a great job. Wolf, I told you, there's over 1 billion shares short. They moved it back up. The high was 591. I think the 605 was the last high.
Kristen Shaughnessy just posted, quote, a former trader for a group of hedge funds was sentenced to 3.5 years in federal prison for participating in a scheme that manipulated penny stocks.
1916.
William, I don't want to say anything, but either that, I just said that out loud, or I didn't say it at all, and I'm thinking it.
Well, you might have. Maybe I'm. Look, I'm like Joe Biden. I might have lost my marbles.
I just read that whole thing, and I retweeted it for everybody. And again, these guys will all rat on each other to stay out of jail. Okay, that's what these guys do. They're all working together. They turn on each other, just like she's saying. They're manipulated penny stocks. That means, stocks like FingerMotion or GTII. They all do the same thing. I told you, low-hanging fruits get them first to go. Kramer's, Alpine, Lynn Partners, Yorkville. These are the guys that go first. It works its way up. Citadel will get the call from Donald Trump, bring him in here and say, you're short our stock. If you don't cover it and we find you short, we're going to put you in jail. So you can either go away, stop doing what you're doing, or you're going to go to jail. That's the call he's going to get. Everyone else is going to get busted. So again, keep an eye on Wolf. If you're looking for something to play, I'm not going to tell you to go chase high flying names. You can do that yourself. If you want to play Tesla, you want to roll the dice, good luck. That's not my thing. But if you want to go play it, good luck. Elon Musk has finally got his company going on the right track again. The shorts have been all over that. That's $1 billion plus. I posted that many times. I don't know what the short is, MULN. I lost track of that, but that guy has diluted himself to death. All right. And what else we have?
Well, he can always award himself options.
Right. Well, listen, I don't like to shit on the companies. Their back is to the wall. These companies, they work hard. The CEO's got a lot of responsibility. If you're going to come out here and defraud people, you get busted, you deserve to go to jail. But for, getting paid for what they do, I met many CEOs of small companies that, don't get paid. They work hard. And for example, like this guy in KNW, he took money from the devil. He's probably sitting there trying to not spend money, taking money. And you know what? And they just get their scientists, they just get crushed. And they work 7 days a week and no one knows whatever's going to happen to them. It's too hard. It's not, if the regulators don't have your back, then there is no equity markets because 1 out of 1,000 companies slips past the gateway. FingerMotion has the opportunity because guess what? Whatever business they're doing doesn't require money. Right? The Chinese government's going to pay them to install whatever that technology is, and FingerMotion's going to get the spread on each one of them. That's pretty good. So if they're making $20,000 or whatever it is per installation and it costs them 5, they're plus 15. If it costs them 10, they're plus 10. Each car, each truck. I can't wait for when they meet the big brokerage firm and they tell them the numbers. We get confirmation of those numbers because guess what? Whatever they say at that meeting, my friend will be relaying to me, so I'll get the numbers exactly. Or I don't know if they're allowed to tell it, but they said that they will be releasing numbers shortly. Every couple of weeks they're going to start releasing it. So if they install 10 devices, we'll know how much money they got paid and how much is profit. Then the game really begins. Now where are you going?
Well, that's right. And maybe the market will start discounting good news, which they'll have to
listen.
take.
Again, I just wanted to show you KYP.
He's going to announce the VP at 4:30.
Okay. So this morning, GameStop traded down. I think it closed at 26, went down to 25.65. Let's say you paid $26 for it. The stock went up to 27.20. Okay, that was your rip. If you sold it anywhere, made 50 cents, 60 cents, you don't have to make $1. Actually, there is room to make $1 sometimes. You trade it and you sold your stock. You have no more position, but you're up $600. You could turn around, but $600, you look at the options and say, I think it's going to go this week. And you could sit there and say, okay, I could buy the 28.5 calls for $1.05, or I could buy the 29s for $1. So you make $500, you buy 5 calls. You long 500 shares at $29. So you're still involved in case it ever goes to $1 million, you're involved. Or you can buy the 30s, I'm sure they're half of that price. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You can do that all day long. Buy the dip, sell the rip. If you want to stay, you can always just buy cheap calls. You give up a couple of points, but you have no more risk on the table, just your profit that you just made. And that's it. And FingerMotion will get to that point once it starts to get that wild swing. William, I've always said this to everybody. How come the volatility in FingerMotion never comes to the upside? It's always to the downside. If I was a real short seller, I would let FingerMotion run to 10. Let it drop down to 5. Let it run to 12. Drop it down to 5.
Well, my opinion is they do that in the stocks they're not afraid of, like GME and AMC and some of the others. But in these stocks, they're afraid, like you pointed out earlier, that momentum can get out of control against them.
Well, again, if the stock was 20, I would have a different opinion on how to trade FingerMotion. But at this level, there is no opinion. The stock is worth 5 thanks to benchmark. Not me.
Right.
They're telling you.
Right.
I think it's worth higher. I'm not even telling you what I think.
Right.
But benchmark 2 years ago said the stock is worth 5 and look for an upgrade because the business is booming. That's what they said, not me.
Right.
Yet someone's willing to keep trying to hold it down, and I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense. If this was Apple Computer and Apple was trading $10 or $20 below what everyone deems as fair value for the company, institutions would step in and take it back up. And there's people that do follow that stuff. They see a market sell off and they say, oh my God, they took down IBM and it's really worth 190. It's trading at 168 on a washout where people were dumping it. They step in and buy it. That's what institutions do.
Right.
We don't have the institutions yet, so we're not at that point yet. But when they do come, that's what's going to happen. When the company starts putting up, some people keep saying to you, where's the numbers? Where's the numbers? They just announced the goddamn deal. How fast can you build it? They have to hire people. GameStop, they're posting that they're hiring, KYP is a GameStop person. They're hiring 4,000 people. How is it a positive for GameStop hiring 4,000 people? They don't even have a business they're working on yet, but they're going to hire 4,000 people. They're going to come in tomorrow and build revenue in 2 minutes. It's impossible. Why is FingerMotion always under attack? Because, hey, we got to get the revenue. They got contracts coming out of their ass. And people don't give them any credit for getting the contracts. Maybe they got to hire 500 people to do these things, these installations. They got to teach them, train them, and then go out there and start doing it, correct?
Right.
So when it comes, it comes. But they have the business, so it's coming. So like you said, William, we get paid. We make our money for getting in early. And I've always told everyone, getting in early is hard.
DJT 4165.
So if you bought the dip, you sell a rip. If you bought it below 40, you made another $1.50.
So
I mean, you could do this whole day. You can make
look up Ahmed. He's in New York City, and look up KYP. She'll play pickleball with you.
She's hiding from me again.
She's not hiding.
She's
not afraid of you.
She's a runner.
Oh, so she's worried that she can't move sideways and forward. She only does long distance running.
She's going to run. She's going to turn and run. That's what she's going to do.
Yeah. She's going to show up with you're going to play doubles, and she's going to show up with a guy that could pick you up with one arm.
I would love to have someone with her attitude on my team, because the two of us, because if we're losing, we're both just going to toss our paddles at the other players.
So it's 120, almost 125,000 shares now.
All right. So this stock, if too bad this doesn't trade at night, it would put me to sleep. This is what I need to watch to go to sleep, is watching this type of trading. This is telling you Okay, listen, I'm just going to shoot from the hip, and this is my opinion. You have to be insane if you're following the bouncing ball here. Say, hey, this idiot thinks it's 230 million shares short, right? You can say he's crazy. Just make it 30 million shares. Covering 30 million shares, you're going to have $50 to $100 stock here. That's 30 million shares. The stock is $2.20. Give me a better risk reward. Give me a better one that you know everything about. We posted it every day. We talk about it almost every day to you. We recap it every day. I don't know one stock that anybody's doing that in. Devin Nunes is the chief guy in DJT, and he speaks about it once every 8 days. GameStop, no one says anything about it, including Roaring Kitty. He's supposed to be the leader. No, he just posts a picture of a cat, and everybody knows what's going on. We tell you about it all day long. We talk about the trading. We show you the manipulation. We show you the wash trades. We show you the short interest. We're showing you everything. We recap every trade, time and sales on top of it. And if you don't have the understanding of what you're seeing in front of you, when it does happen, you're going to kick yourself in the ass.
This is interesting. If you read the mission statement for DJT, it says, I'm paraphrasing, but it says it's all about getting rid of censorship on social media. Well, Elon Musk has just come out and said, end the online censorship racket. It's interesting. There's momentum maybe towards...
What, like me getting kicked off all the time?
Yeah. Somebody asked why you got kicked off. You can answer it if you want.
I think it's Hindenburg. Hindenburg got busted in India. And give me 1 second.
Is KNW the stock you talked about? KNW?
Yes.
Apparently they're in the middle of a share offering. I don't know for that, but somebody's saying that.
Their share offering is they're giving money to Lynn Partners and they're going to get stock cheaper. Anyway, India, the country, tells hedge funds they can invest. Get caught breaking the law, they get hung with a nice rope. That's what the country said. Hindenburg did that fake report, and Kingdom Capital was the person that they were working with. Kingdom Capital had these guys write a report about a major company in India. The stock, the damage, it went down $15 billion in market cap in company. $15 billion. Kingdom Capital, along with Hindenburg, swiped $4 million. They robbed $4 million and caused $15 billion in damage. What I said is, if these guys did this damage in India, the trial should be in India, and if they're found guilty, India should follow up with what they said, hang them. And that's when I got kicked off. And I pleaded with Twitter, and I said, here's the story from India. I didn't say it. And that was that.
So what does it mean when a stock has 141% institutional ownership?
Well, you can only own.
I guess it's
100%.
a convertible bond or something.
What stock is it? What stock are they talking about?
It's SunPower. SNPW. Sam, Nancy, Paul, William.
W. Sun Pacific? Is that what it is?
He says it's SunPower. I don't know. S like snake, N like Noons, P like Patriot,
Yeah.
W like winner.
Is it a solar company?
Yeah, apparently.
Give me 1 second. Where's the SNP P to W, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Shithead, Noons, Paul, William.
Can you put it up on Twitter? I don't see it. Sun Pacific Holding. I'm looking at it on Yahoo, and I don't see 3.48% is percentage held by insiders.
It is Sun Pacific. It is Sun Pacific.
Yeah.
Thomas?
I don't see any percentage of a float held by institutions. I don't see anything.
So it's probably wrong. KYP says she's ready anytime.
That's what I said. I want a person like her on my team.
So maybe that's what she's talking about. You'll be doubles champions.
Yes. I'm sure she's a lot quicker than me. I run around now like Kaiser Soze, dragging my leg.
Kaiser Soze. SPWR is the symbol, I guess. SPWR. Sun power.
Oh, yeah, that's sun power. SP, that makes sense. It's a solar company. I remember it.
We got the power.
Give me 1 second, William. Take it easy. Let it come up. Let me get it first. Wow, it is 141% of the float held by institutions. That is a good one, my friend.
What does it mean?
Well, if there's 100 shares and the institutions own it all, that means 41% of it already is shorted, right?
Okay.
So since it's 141% already, another 30% of the float, if the institutions would have stepped in, that is the same numbers that were in GameStop, which I reported on. The float is owned by reporting institutions, BlackRock, Vanguard, all of them, Invesco, Bank of America, State Street, Morgan Stanley. The only thing that I find interesting here is a lot of people that own it are the ones that are lending out the shares. So it's a catch-22. But if you know anyone at the company, this could be potentially a home run. Good find.
That is a find by Jason P. and Thomas Mikulski.
Jason, you should reach out to management.
Tell him to do a deal with Jeff Easton.
Yeah, do a deal with Jeff Easton. No, see, I know it's a solar company, but if you ever want, I would love to speak with them and talk about their little situation, because that is, in my report on GameStop, it was 172 maybe, that percentage owned by the float. You can't own 170% of 100. I mean, you're over already. So let's look at the numbers. You're 141% already. It's a $2.50 stock. So you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, what percentage is going to be retail investors? Got to be at least a 20% more. So we're at the 161.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got hedge funds all around the globe that buy the stock, whether they buy 50,000 or 500,000 shares. They don't report because they don't have to report that they own the stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So make that another 20%. So we're at 200% easy. So investors own 200% of 100% already. This is the type of company that needs to do a special dividend, something to force settlement, because there's too many investors for too little shares. It's right there. That is the proof that you can get, or you cannot get in FingerMotion, because FingerMotion doesn't have the institutional ownership. GameStop has the institutional ownership, and that's why I reported on it. For the gentleman that did this one, mark it down, put that information up on Twitter, because I think this could be powerful, this company. What you want to do, let's keep it quiet until Finger goes, then we can all compile it in here, because that'd be a good one. Why don't we do that? Let's keep it quiet. All right, William, I'm going to keep that one quiet.
Why don't you do that?
And anyway, going back to FingerMotion, if you can't see
217.
if you can't see what we see, then please move to the sideline, because what I see and documented for 5 years is so clear, and I need glasses, is crystal clear. All right. I've seen the proof. I've seen the short seller. I know their network. The only things I don't know is who the real short is. Got to be a cousin, a friend, someone in their camp, and who's holding the naked short offshore, wherever they're hiding it. That's the only two things I don't know. We know Jeffries is their prime. They can have other prime brokers. There's many other ones out here. They're moving things around. But again, the rope is getting tighter around their necks. Eventually, and I told you before, I'm not going away, and I'm going to get Pat Byrne, and this stock is going to be on the front lines when it starts going. Once it's 84 days and Trump is elected, this stock is going to be in the forefront. And if you like, in a couple of weeks, I'll set up an appointment with Pat Byrne, get him on Twitter, and make sure you can hear me jam it down his throat so you know it's coming. Would that make you happy, William?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Listen, you know what? I don't like to do that, but I will. Give me a little time, I'll set it up, and maybe I'll even go see Patrick, and I'll set it up nice and easy for us. Everybody knows what you got in store for us. We are tied to the most powerful man in the world and the #1 expert on naked short selling. You can't get any better, and he's going to be in the administration. And trust me, go back and go to Deep Capture. If you think Pat Byrne has any love for the SEC, then you lost your marbles. Go back and read all the stories about Pat Byrne and the fight with the SEC. He knows they're captured. He's been putting it up. That's why it's called Deep Capture. Anyway, like I said, I say it's 230 million, make it 30 million. You got a stock that goes from 2 to 50. Most people would kill their mothers to make $48 in a stock or $50 in a stock, whatever it may be. It's right in front of you. That's what I see. I think GameStop is the perfect trading stock until it doesn't become the perfect trading stock. You can buy the dip, sell the rips all day long. Like right now, instead of being up at 27.10, it's 26.55. If you're buying 1,000 shares, you buy 100 at 255, 245, 235, always down. You get an average price of like 220, 26.20. When it turns and it runs to 27 again, you sell it, do it again. The people that are behind GameStop have lost their marbles, and this is what they want to do all day. God bless them. Keep doing it. But you can see the stock doesn't have that same short squeeze that it used to have. When it's short, when the stock turned up, it wouldn't go up 50 cents. It'd run $1.50, it'd run $3. You don't see that anymore. That means that the hedge funds aren't here anymore. They moved on. GDC, I've been following that. Nothing's happened there. Quiet, nothing going on there. Went to $1.50, died. 14,000 shares. Same thing with ZJYL. I see pushing back and forth. I'm following someone that I respect, and that's got a lot of money. He's probably invested $10, $12 million in both these names, so I'm following him. I can't call up and yell at him every day because I respect him and I don't cry. I bought the stocks. He didn't tell me to buy it. He told me about it, and I made the decision. Once you make the decision to buy it, it's on you. Unless I come to the house and I'm hitting the buttons. But I'm still standing there. The other names, I'm just giving you names to look at if you trade other different things. You know, Kodak is not the fast-paced trader yet. That's another one you can buy on a dip, and you got to wait a week until it's ready to go. Then it pops a little bit, and you can take advantage of it. But again, it was, 560. There's not much room there yet. But going back to FingerMotion, I'll repeat this one more time. Volatility is always to the downside. They were trying to break $2, push it down, push it down. The volatility needs to come to the upside, not to the downside. That's how you get people to sell. There's no selling down here. It means that the volatility has to go up for people to trade it, not down. But again, you're dealing with a bunch of buffoons. These guys graduated the Charlie Mayo School of Trading. they're all the same idiots. It's just amazing. Anything else, William?
No, nothing.
I'll leave on that note.
Nothing.
DJT $41. I think it's going to trend high. Listen, if you missed your sale, hang on. There's no reason to sell it. There's no bad news. It's all good news. He's going to announce his running mate. He's going to win the Republican nominee, and we're moving forward. And each day is getting closer to the election. There's only 84 trading days, counting today. Tomorrow, I'll change the number to 83. It's going lower. Where are they going? There's nothing positive coming out of this for the naked shorts. Zero. Pat Byrne, go read up on Pat Byrne. I put the story up. I put it up 50 times. Read, go learn about Pat Byrne. He's going to hang him. He doesn't fool around. He's very smart. He understands it. He's got his team of people, and he will make sure that the U.S. investor is protected. And we're on his team. So think of all the stocks out there. You're going to get DJT, and you're going to get us. Then everybody else can follow. All right. So when you get your chance, you got to make hay when the sun is shining, because it doesn't shine all the time. You get these opportunities once in a lifetime. I've been doing this 24 years. And now we have Pat Byrne giving you the opportunity right in your face.
Michelangelo only painted one ceiling.
That's a good one. Anyway, listen, everyone, have a great day. I'll be watching the Crooks posting all day. It's too hot out to play. But again, we'll see you soon, and hang in there. All right?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I don't know how long it's really worth staying on. But Pete, to answer this question, it's not completely a straightforward question. But in its simplest iteration, when someone sells stock that doesn't exist, they don't make any money until they close the position. The money has to sit at the prime broker. But when you bring in another LLC or another entity who sells stock that doesn't exist, but by doing it is able to buy the stock from their buddy at a lower price in the original entity, then they can book the profit. They can meet at Harry's and split up the loot. And no one in the government cares about this. This is theft. It's illegal. Gary Gensler doesn't care. He simply does not care. Others think, oh, there's systems in place. They're good clients. You don't know what you're talking about. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And then to go up here to Jordan. Let me see if I can find Jordan. Jordan says, thank you for what you do, but I'm disappointed that you support Trump. Can we agree he attempted a violent insurrection on January 6th? No, I don't agree with that. I studied it. I watched videos. It was Antifa. I walked down there. I live here. I walked down there. The reason I didn't go down to the gathering, I saw Antifa hanging out with the police days before, and I said, "Uh-oh, this is trouble." And then there's a video of a guy who put on an Antifa guy who put on a Trump hat, bashed the windows, went in. He went into the John, changed his clothes, and left. He was confronted, if you want to find it, he was confronted by Millennial Millie. She did a great job, but the mainstream media didn't do it. So, Jordan, if you still listen to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, you and I probably aren't going to agree. And you're going to say, oh, well, you're in your silo of right-wing knowledge. No, news. No, I'm not. I try to listen to everything, but I gave up on the biased mainstream media. I'm a guy who used to read a minimum of 5 newspapers a day, usually 6, 7, 8 a day. Every single day. I can't read them anymore. That's all crap. But I still try. I still try to listen to everybody. But as soon as they're lying, I can't listen. But that's up to you. You don't believe they're lying. So I respect that you feel that the mainstream media is telling the truth. But no, I do not believe that Donald Trump attempted a violent insurrection on that day. He specifically said, if you watched his speech, I did from here, he said, go peacefully. He said it. Go peacefully. And I think the violence came from the other side. It was a setup. It was a setup. And then Nancy Pelosi she admits it. Trump asked her if she wants National Guard. She turned it down. So no, I just simply cannot agree with you on that. But you're welcome. You have your source of information. I walked down there. I went down to several gatherings. I saw it. So I have my own opinion. With no evidence of voter fraud, no, I don't think you're right. There is evidence of voter fraud. But I've got to say, for the YouTube censors, I'm just reading your question. We all have to acknowledge that Joe Biden, who could get 12 Jeeps to show up for a rally or get 13 circles in a lawn, was the single most popular president in the history of the United States. He got either 81 or 83 million votes. I stayed up, I watched, and very odd things happened. So no, I don't agree with you on any of those points. On the other hand, I do think it's okay that you have your point of view. You listen to Richard Maddow. Just remember, she gets paid $100,000 a episode, something like that. And Washington Post is owned by Jeffrey Bezos. The New York Times is owned by Haile Slim, or whatever his name is. And the media that you watch is controlled by BlackRock. It's controlled by BlackRock. But if you want to believe it, we live in a free country, mostly free, except on YouTube, except on Facebook. We live in a free country. And no, I will say that there's a gentleman in Texas I admire very much. He's in politics. He told me there's no evidence. And I know that's the theme. Let me ask you something, Jordan. If there's no evidence, why is it bad to call for a recount? Why is it bad to question election results? If there's no evidence, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of to go to 6 or 7 states and make sure that the 35, 45 days collecting ballots, mail-in ballots without supervision at drop-off boxes was legitimate? Why are you afraid to recount when thousands of ballots came with the same address? Why? If there's no evidence of fraud, you should be happy with a recount. In kindergarten, if the vote seems tied, they do a recount. What are you afraid of? I think the left is afraid of the recount. But hey, we're almost through 4 years of this presidency. And Jordan, I think you have to agree, it's one of the best presidencies we've ever had. Joe Biden has taken jobs from the shutdown, economic shutdown. He takes credit from then. So he's increased jobs. He's increased massively vacancies at shopping centers around the country so that real estate can be repurposed. He's rescued banks from going bankrupt by just writing a check when the Democratic boards lent money long and borrowed it short. So he's done that. It's been great. He's increased the debt. We're on a trajectory to go to $50 trillion in debt. And I don't think it matters whether Biden's in or Trump. That's going to happen anyway. But he's remarkable, Joe Biden is, at campaigning from his basement. He's got a reach that is powerful. He's able to clearly state his views and salesmanship. The wonderful thing about Joe Biden, he's kept us out of war in the Middle East, and he's indicated to Benjamin Netanyahu, please do not slaughter innocent human beings, half of whom are children, in Gaza Strip. He's been able to do that. It's amazing. It's an amazing achievement. He pulled the Abraham Accords, which, you know, we all know that was done by a dictator. He's also, Jordan, been able to accelerate the global move away from the dollar by having his team put sanctions on anyone that uses the dollar that disagrees with us. This is a piece of brilliant global strategy. Joe Biden's been fantastic ever since he said to the acting, whatever it was, attorney general in the Ukraine, if you want your $1 billion, you better vote my way. Hey, he's been great. We've been able to give the Ukraine hundreds of billions of dollars. And you know what? We're on the verge of the opportunity to actually cause World War III. And we're going to show the Russians, we're going to show them they need to be damned for what they did 150 years ago. And Jordan, you're right. Joe's your man. Look what Joe's done in the inner cities. It's amazing what he's done. He's actually shipped migrants in from all over the world, put them in hotels, put them on the dole, while our inner city populations live on the street and starve and don't have proper education and medical care. It's brilliant. I can see why Joe Biden is the single most popular president in the history of the United States. Truly amazing. Truly amazing. He put in one of the first things he did as he came in is stop the Keystone Pipeline and other pipelines. You don't think Canada's going to produce that oil? It'll go to China. You don't think the United States is as strong as it is economically because of oil? But hey, Joe's the best. I'm going to agree with you, Jordan. As I talk to you, I'm going to agree with you. Trump caused all the trouble in this country. Joe Biden is brilliant, and there's no evidence of voter fraud. There won't be when they re-elect Joe Biden. There'll be no evidence of voter fraud, and the United States will be lucky to have Joe Biden as president with Kamala Harris backing him up. Jordan, you win. You win. All right. Let me well, that's true. Rachel, her name is Rachel Maddow. Finger is 218. The high in the day is 225. All right, KYP, let's see what she says. Let me correct you. It was not Antifa. My brother was there, who is a judge. I know Congress, Cori Bush, first day in Congress. I would give my brother's name. No, don't. You can't tell a mob to go peacefully once, I guess, you pull the trigger. Joe doesn't agree. That's fine. Trump will clean up fraud. Trump convicted of 34 counts of fraud. Well, again, you've got to look at it. He was accused of what I understand to be federal crimes. They processed it in New York. They had expired, but they opened it up again, the window up again. I might be confusing that with the bat crazy lady case. But your candidates, Hillary Clinton did the same type stuff. Obama did the same type stuff. So it's interesting. Her name is Rachel. Her name is Rachel KYP. Nobody would take greater pleasure in announcing a big deal than Martin Shen. I'm sure his team are working hard. I agree with that. So KYP says Trump is not going to clean up anything. He's part of the problem. Remember, these birds of a feather flock together. Trump will not clean up. They all swim in the same dirty pond. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for short sellers. Well, I don't know about that. I think KYP has a point. I don't see either president doing much. Now, Ham thinks that Patrick Byrne will come in and clean it up. I really do not think there's any interest in the financial markets to clean up the overselling of shares. My guess it's much higher than 10 to 1. We could be looking at 50 to 1. So our stock market is replete with counterfeit shares. And I happen to agree with KYP. I don't think it's going to be cleaned up. Well, she looks like that, but it's unkind of me to call her that. It's unkind of me to call her that. I don't like making fun of Biden any longer, although I don't think he's a particularly nice man anymore. I met him. I used to think he might be a good president, but I don't. But he belongs in a home. I don't think he's running the country. So, what market corruption did Trump clean up? I agree, he didn't. I think KYP is correct. I mean, you have to look at that. Donald Trump did nothing to change the market. In fact, he may, in his desire to get rid of regulations, he may have made it easier. We'll find out. We'll find out if with DJT, if he's learning what goes on. I don't know. But I'm not that optimistic, KYP, that Trump's going to do anything. Ham is. And her name is Rachel. I used to follow her closely. I used to think she was highly intelligent. I still think she is, but I think she's deceptive now. too reasonable. I don't know. The problem of what's going on, Jeff, is we've got to stop this. We've got to stop being torn apart. I don't think it really matters so much who is president other than maybe Donald Trump, because the power of the lobbyists, the power of inertia, the power of corporate donations, the power of journalism, it just continues. And what I'm afraid of is that if we continue to argue, Trump's a dictator, he hates women, he hates minorities. I mean, I don't see any evidence of that in his past. On the other hand, he has had a glorious life and very privileged life. But he's not perfect. I do see evidence of plantation racism on the part of the Clintons, the Bidens, and et cetera. But we can disagree on that. Maybe they're our best candidates. But if we tear ourselves apart, we're doing exactly what the people who actually run this country want us to do. Because our elections are, I think, going back to Jordan's point, I think Jordan and I can both agree we deserve to have fair, non-fraudulent elections. I agree with that with Jordan. I used to say, look, Biden won last time. Let's not argue about it. But let's make sure during 4 years we go to paper ballots, one-day voting, paper ballots and one-day voting, and I think also voter ID. It's not because I'm against minorities, but there's apparently 19 million new people in this country who are not citizens who are going to vote. But hey, we can disagree on that. Maybe it's okay to let people in from all around the country to vote in our elections. 20 million, 19 million. Maybe that's okay. But I don't know where you stop. There's something that the United States represents. Individual rights for everyone, individual opportunity for everyone. Freedom of the press, which means you have to let people you don't agree with say things you don't agree with. Honest elections for everyone. I don't agree with the misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. On the other hand, I don't want to get lost arguing that. The Second Amendment was a compromise. But I do think we can agree, just like driving an automobile, that it's okay that people have to be trained how to use guns. Maybe they need a license. That's how they do it in the UK. But anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in that because it's unwinnable. But I don't see why people who barely understand that other citizens deserve the same rights as they do should have an AK-47 with unlimited. They can. I don't know. Doesn't make me feel safe. But anyway, I don't want to get lost in that one. But we also have freedom of assembly. We have a right to protest, like they did on January 6th. Have a right to protest. We have a right to expect our government to work for us. We have a right to expect regulation that protects our markets. We have a right to expect that our patents are protected. There's a lot. I also would go further that we should make sure that our schools in every jurisdiction are built to the best standard in the world so that all children have access to excellent education. And just because your dad works at Goldman Sachs doesn't mean your education is better than the education that is given to a child whose father maybe, works for the forestry department. But if we continue to bicker that Trump's a bad guy, Biden, we're not going to get anywhere. Our country's at risk. And what Jordan believes and KYP believes, I believe, is that we each have a right to our ideas and a right to express them. And that's all I believe is I can be wrong in my ideas, but how do I learn? I listen to KYP, what she says. I listen to Jordan's point of view. I'm not attacking Jordan. I'm not attacking KYP because I admire each of them for having a point of view and being able to express it. I like it when a point of view is backed up with an argument because then I can learn, and then I think about it later on. But that's the strength of this country. If we instead say, oh, you can't say that, well, we don't get anywhere. We don't get anywhere. People aren't dying to go to China or Russia for that matter. People want to live here for our 10 amendments and the extra right that Lincoln put in, you could call it 11, that our government is of, by, and for the people, that we take as if it were written at the time of the Constitution, that we can each work hard and own property and we have rights, that we can speak out, that we can live our lives without being thrown in jail for a wrong reason. Now, I know in our history, we've been terrible at that. We've been terrible. This is a horrible country to be poor in. And it's been a horrible country to have darker skin than mine. But fixing it is not going to be turning against each other. That's not going to fix it. Anyway. 217 to 219, 142,000 shares. Let's see. Most of the country is the middle of the political. That's a good point, Jeff. I think everything's gotten so far on either end. I also think what's going on is we're all a little nervous about what's coming. We sense something's coming, and so we turn maybe on each other. I think personally, I'm still a Democrat. I think the Democrats should have had an open primary system when Hillary ran, when Biden ran, and when Biden ran again. But for some reason, it wasn't. So I wasn't proud of that because that's very Republican, where they just choose the next person in line. And I think we could have had a Bernie Sanders, who it would have been interesting. Imagine if RFK were still in on the Democratic side. I'd be interested in seeing what RFK would do. His father is one of my political heroes from my reading and I guess you could call it study of history and government. But he got kicked out. Tulsi Gabbard. I'd love to see Tulsi Gabbard chosen by Donald Trump for vice president. I'd love to see Byron Donalds. These are two people. I like Anna Paulina Luna, but I think her government experience is shorter. But these two people, as I watch them, both have a backbone, have a spine. They're willing to stand up for what they believe in, and they're not going to be rhinos. One of the reasons I'm a Democrat is equal rights for everyone. Well, I guess the Democratic Party still feels that way, unless you live in the middle of the country. Half of all Trump's voters are deplorables. So 50% of the people who voted 50%, give or take, for one side are deplorable. How does that help? How does that help? I guess it does. I don't know when the Democratic Party became the party of war, endless war, killing women, children with dark skins around the world. When did that happen? To the detriment of women and children in this country whose skin is darker than mine. By the way, there's some really poor white people in this country too. But when did the Democratic Party support that? When did the Democratic Party support banks? Was it triangulation under Bill Clinton? I voted for Bill Clinton twice. Was it triangulation? I don't know, but something's happened. So I agree that, to me, that my party has moved way away from me. I can't bring myself to be a Republican either. So not interested as Trump as our savior. I still don't think they're going to let Trump win. I don't think you have to worry about that. This is, first they tried to completely discredit him. That didn't work. Then they tried to ridicule him. It sounds like what the bashers do in the short selling. And then they tried to off him. Didn't work. But I don't think, I at this point, I think they're all in on it. So I don't think Trump is going to be your savior. I think Kamala Harris is very likely going to be your savior, Lou. And I know you'll sleep at night better when a woman who access to power was an affair with a married man, a woman who grew up very privileged, whose father's family were slave traders and whose mother is Indian and is married to a white man. You're going to be very high. And then when she was attorney general in California, apparently she jailed people for marijuana usage alone. And then she laughed about it on some show. And apparently she extended their terms for the cheap labor. You can't prove that. I'm not sure Kamala Harris is a better choice than Donald Trump. I don't know. But I don't think Donald Trump is going to, I'm still not convinced he's going to be the president. And if he is, remember, Lou, he's going to be a lame duck the moment he comes in, because he can only have one term. That's why I think his vice presidential candidate is much more important than he himself. I would love Tulsi Gabbard or Byron Donalds. Those are the two I'd like. I don't want these guys like Borgum or Youngkin. It doesn't interest me. Everything got worse under Biden. A lot of people don't believe that. there's a lot of people here in this city that are petrified of Trump going back into office. And they believe that under Biden, that their rights and their opportunities and in the judicial system, that those rights and opportunities are more protected under Biden, and that there's been huge advancement in areas of equality, opportunity. I believe it or not, that many people believe that Biden did a lot more for veterans than Trump. Many people believe that Biden's been better for the U.S. standing in the world than Donald Trump. They can't believe how Donald Trump treated NATO, and Biden's actually an ally of NATO. They can't believe that Trump was a co-conspirator, so to speak, with Putin, and that Biden is putting Putin in his place, and that Biden is standing up for the Ukraine, and that Biden stands up for Israel. So there's a debate on all that. If you listen to, and I do around here, Biden brought jobs back to the United States. Biden is making the planet safer for global warming. Biden is putting an emphasis on changing our corporate structure, increasing taxes so the wealthy can't strip so much of the nation's wealth. So there's different points of view on whether we're better off under Biden or under Trump. If we can't, we have to learn somehow, when 49% of the people vote this way and 49% the other way, and then one party gets in power, if that party acts like a dictatorship over the other party, the country doesn't stay up together. So I don't think Trump's going to be our savior. I think if somehow Trump is our president, I wouldn't be surprised to see rioting in cities. It's that kind of animus is out there. But if, on the other hand, if Biden is reelected with more votes than Obama, more votes than Hillary, more votes than Trump by definition, I'm not sure that there'll be riots, but I think there'll be actions to start to secede from this government. Texas maybe first, maybe some of the Midwest. And you might see a new country that goes up into Canada, the western states and parts of Canada, where we cannot continue this way as a country, tearing each other apart. I think the people that don't agree with some of my thoughts are good people. And the people around here are all good people, all good people. They just see things differently than I do in some areas, not in all areas. But I don't think, Doug, that it's clear to at least 50% of the population that you're right, that everything got worse under Biden. And those things that got worse, like inflation, I think people would say that's because of Donald Trump, because of his ineffectiveness. So people just see things differently. The last day for a hearing is 7:31. Do you think Noons will get a congressional hearing? I doubt it, David. I doubt it. But maybe I'm wrong. My opinion is Congress is going to be focused on the Democratic convention, and they're going to be focused on whatever the heck just went on with Trump. the Senate under Schumer wants to stay in power. The House wants to flip to the Democratic Party, and they're very close. I think the spread is 1 or 2 seats. No, I don't think there's going to be any movement before the election, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think you're going to start seeing polls showing that Biden is getting a lot of support in the industrial Midwest, in the toss-up states, and I think you're going to see polls that show Kamala Harris can beat Trump. I still stick with my prediction they'll go with Hillary, and they certainly, if they get Hillary in, they're going to have polls showing that she beats Trump all day long. So I think that's where the attention is going to be for the next months. Well, I think RFK Jr., who has the courage to speak out on almost anything. There's an excellent book he wrote, which I don't have here, otherwise I'd show it to you. It's called, and I gave away at least a dozen of them. It's called Crimes Against Nature. An incredible book. It's not very long. I'm not going to talk about the other issue that he's spoken about. But I really admire Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't admire some of his behavior. Apparently, he kept a book of his conquests. Let's put it that way. And I don't really admire that. But I don't know. I don't fit into this. I don't fit into this world all that well. Trump is going live on Rumble. I'd like to see it. If I'm keeping you from that, American Truther, I love it that you're here, but please watch him on Rumble. I don't have Rumble, but I'll try to see it when it comes on YouTube. But one of the things I remember that Martin Luther King talked about, what a man he was. I think he was sent with God's hand. But he knew the issue was bigger than bickering with each other, because he knew, I can't say it exactly, but he said that the jailer is as jailed as the prisoner. He said basically the racist is trapped as much as the victim of that racism. And I think Martin Luther King is one of the great men of all time. But I think it was with God's. He was willing to listen to what God would want, but he had the courage. My gosh, that was a young man speaking beyond his age, and he risked everything. I don't see racism. This is KYP. You don't see racism on Trump. He constantly speaks nasty about blacks, Mexicans, and Asians. He's a racist. I've listened to a lot of his talks, and I know when he came down the elevator, he was accused of saying that. I think it was taken a bit out of context, but at the same time, when I heard him say it, it offended me. So I agree with you. I didn't like KYP. I did not like that in his first administration, he appointed, as far as I know, one person who was African American, Ben Carson, and everyone else were these elderly white males. But then I thought, you know what? Maybe he wanted to surround himself with people who he could go ask questions to. I don't know. I think he could have done much, much better on that. But KYP, he didn't write the crime bill. He didn't write the crime bill. Joe Biden did. He didn't advocate for the crime bill. He didn't sign the crime bill. Bill Clinton did. Hillary Clinton did. I've never heard Joe Biden, Donald Trump, even use terrible language. But apparently, according to White House chefs, Hillary Clinton did all the time. I don't know. I wasn't there. I think Trump's actions with his father in New York, with rent control and with basically, I don't know if he was a slumlord guy, but maybe his father was. I think that area would be worth studying. And I've tried to read on it. I don't find much to say that that was racist. But I think when Trump came into office, just one thing, I think they call it the black colleges. I hate all these terms. Came in and asked for their annual payment from the government. And Trump said, "Why do you come in every year?" Well, that's how it's always been done. He said, "Why don't we get permanent funding for you so you don't have to come in begging every year?" And he did. He got permanent. Well, he got 10-year funding approved. That's more than Barack Obama did. I think that Trump's view, which you can argue with, because I think he's going to be wrong this time, KYP. I don't think the United States is sitting on more oil than Saudi Arabia. Well, I don't think Saudi Arabia is sitting on as much oil as Saudi Arabia says they have either. But I don't think we can go back to the 70s or the 80s in how we plan our economy and burn oil. And to me, Trump's wrong on that. So we'll find out. But I think that's a mistake. But I think last time, Trump's policies juiced the economy, and maybe it was just an accident. But I think an argument can be made that his idea is economics. He was looking out for minorities and their home ownership and their jobs increased. But that's giving him credit. Maybe it was really Barack Obama's efforts. I don't know. I wasn't overwhelmed with what Barack Obama did, other than the amazing thing Barack Obama did. I could feel it in this city, is he broke through and showed that anything is possible. And I loved that. I absolutely loved that. And my own opinion is, because Hillary lost, she resorted to making it, turning everything against, just opening the wounds again. I could be wrong on that. I'm willing to have you tell me I'm wrong on that. But I have never heard Donald Trump say anything nasty about blacks, Mexicans, or Asians. I have heard him say they who are coming in through our southern border are part of cartels, they're criminals, they're the worst. And if you extend that and say that that's a blanket statement about an entire race, maybe you're correct. But I think he's actually talking about the fact that criminals are coming here. And if you study it, there are cartels, there are drugs coming in from China. And is that payback for what the British did in China 600 years, 500 years ago with opium? I don't know. But I don't, KYP, there's a story. I wish I could find it quickly. But there was a family who was losing their house. And it was a somewhat elderly woman, probably someone my age. And Donald Trump wrote a check for $400,000, gave it to her. And he didn't get any credit. He just did it. That woman, to my memory, was African American. Donald Trump was the best friend of many Democratic causes, including minorities, prior to when he ran for office. And no one ever accused him of being a racist then. He was friends with everybody. I mean, I'm not a big fan of wrestling, but he was there. Mexicans, is he more exposed on the Mexican side? I'm not sure because he's in construction. I've never heard him speak ill of people who were here in the country, other than who he thinks are criminals. But yeah, maybe he was tough on Mexico, and maybe that's what you mean. But I see that as a recognition that a lot of our jobs now reside in Mexico and in China and Vietnam and around the world. I don't know how the United States regains its industrial might unless we bring those jobs here. But okay, maybe he was tough on Vicente Fox. I'll have to be open-minded on that. In terms of Asians, he definitely called the reason for the economic shutdown, he attributed it to China. And then he used terminology which seemed to be anti-Asian. I don't know. I think it was maybe more about where that disease originated. But I hear you. It caused people to separate, and that's not good. The Muslim ban. I don't like that our country is anti-Muslim. I don't like that our country constantly is anti-Islam. I don't like it. And I don't like that aspect. If we get Donald Trump, if we get Robert F. Kennedy, if we get Hillary Clinton, if we get Joe Biden, if we get Kamala Harris, the United States is going to continue to stand with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'll leave it there because it'll inflame people if I go further. But I think, and my dad always got mad at me when I said this, but I think Islam is a beautiful faith. The people who are Muslim are just like we are. Some people don't believe in God and some are devout. I find similarities in the believers to my experience as a Catholic. And I choose to focus on that. As Cardinal McCarrick said, there's 3 Abrahamic faiths: Islam, Judaism, and Catholicism. And Christianity, sorry. But I don't think it's up to me to judge that. But I think we as a country do ourselves great disservice to demonize an entire part of the world's population who are Muslim. They have 1.5 billion people at a minimum. It's not fair and it's not right. So I'm against that. But it is interesting that Donald Trump's first trip as a president was to Saudi Arabia. His next was to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. So I don't know, KYP. I understand how you see it. And I really do not want to be wrong, because I have a friend, erstwhile friend who I worked with, and he said to me, do you see how we hear MAGA, Make America Great Again? And I said, I assume you mean the economy. You mean rebuilding our infrastructure, getting back to our, the strengths of our constitution. He said, no, that's not how we hear it. We hear it going back to the time when jobs were allocated to white men, and when opportunities were given to white men, and when we as a population were suppressed. I never forgot that he said that. I think about it all the time. And I do think that Trump has a blind spot, having grown up in New York City. But I've lived all around the world. I've lived in the North and the South. And my experience, it's different. It's different. You would expect the South to be extremely racist, and it is. But there's also an odd part of the South that doesn't have any blind spots at all, and is very open and welcoming. But in the North, where the liberal ideals come from, you see odd examples of racism. They don't see it, but when you travel from different parts, you see it. So I do anyway. And it's a tough issue. And I agree with you, KYP. I hate it. And I hate racists. I hate racism. And I hate people who perpetuate it by being go along Charlies. One day voting only works if the election day is a paid holiday. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd be for voting online. We bank online. Why shouldn't we vote online? You have a password, boom, done. I'd be for that. Mark, I don't think KYP is capable of being dishonest, and I think she is a person of integrity. And look what she says here. She's lived in New York and she's experienced Trump's racism. I don't know where you're from, Craig. I've never lived in New York City. I've spent a lot of time there. I was born upstate. But I cannot speak to her experience at all. And so I think you have to be respectful of what she's lived, And you have to acknowledge that your point of view, I have to acknowledge that my point of view could be wrong. I mean, if we can't start at least acknowledging that this limited brain power that I have could be wrong, that doesn't work, I don't think. Craig, let me say it more plainly. I stand completely with KYP. I respect her opinion. I'm glad she shares her opinion and that she trusts me enough to disagree with me. And she's trying to tell me where I'm wrong. And I do not question her as a person or as a I don't want to use your word. I don't question her integrity or her veracity. I don't. I've never met KYP, but I'm proud to consider her a friend of mine. And I'll listen to her. And I'll change my points of view where I need to if I'm wrong. And even if I'm not wrong. To me, it's not about being right. It's about making sure that everyone in this country is treated well. Yeah, you do have to be knowledgeable to open your mouth with an argument. On the other hand, I don't think it's a prerequisite. I think you can have a point of view regardless your level of education. Abraham Lincoln was mostly self-taught. Harry S. Truman was self-taught. Malcolm X taught himself in prison, his vocabulary. So I guess that doesn't contradict what you're saying, but I don't think you have to be, a full-fledged intellectual to have a point of view. All I think that's important is that you're able to give one or two reasons why you have that point of view. And incumbent on that is, I think you have to listen to the other side. I think you do. So, I've found often that Republicans are guilty of having the bumper sticker answers, the simple, quick answer, and then you can't talk to them. But then, as I spent a lot of time traveling and meeting a lot of people, I realized that wasn't always true at all. Very rarely true. And I don't think it's true of what's called the left wing or Democrats either. I think people can be defensive initially, but once people start to recognize the other person is good, believes in this country, is American, and has as much a right to their point of view as you do, I think then we start to work better. I also think human beings, just by nature, once we get to know each other, we look beyond these little minor differences, like race. Trump tried to innocent boy have innocent boys executed, and took a full page ad. I think that's that group in New York. I'm almost remembering the name of them. And I think they were Hispanic or Puerto Rican. Sorry, I'm having a Biden moment. There was, I just can't remember their name, KYP. But I think you're right about that. Hey, Joe. Oh, Mark, Mark, please allow that it's hot out. She doesn't know you. That's correct. I think she's saying that what you said was a lie. She doesn't know you in general. But I would appreciate that you don't tell her she's not a lady. She is a lady. She's a human being. Last time you checked, the Biden record on minorities pretty bad. The crime bill. I don't know enough about the specifics, but the one thing that bugs me, Drew, is the educational system. I'm not a fan of, but I've never had children. I'm not a fan of the privatization of education through charter schools. I'm not a fan of that. I really believe the single thing we could do for every child, whether born here or nationalized here, is give them access to the best education. And then those people can spend the rest of their lives reading, for example, or attending lectures, or with critical thought, reading newspapers. And then anyway, that's one area. I think the crime bill is atrocious. 3 strikes, you're out. I think it destroyed families. I don't think either side is particularly pristine on these issues. Oh my gosh, I heard that a local officer went to confront him. I didn't know he climbed up the ladder, but what I heard is the guy pointed a gun at him, and the officer ran away, which isn't good. The Central Park 5, that's what it was. The Central Park 5. Yep, I remember that. Burgum is out. That's good. I don't like that guy. Burgum as VP is out. Good. I didn't want him. Yeah, I read that yesterday. Bill Clinton finished what Ronald Reagan started. It started with Ronald Reagan. Trump is meeting with RFK Jr. Wouldn't that be amazing? If he picked RFK Jr. as vice president, I don't know what KYP would say about that, but my initial reaction would be, wow. Look, when the New York Times put that out, back then the New York Times was still a paper of record. Well, that's terrible. KYP, I'm going to look that up. And I believe you. I trust you on it, but I'm going to look it up. The I can't hit that thing. The but remember, Hillary Clinton had a young person. Well, anyway, I won't go through it. And Bill Clinton executed basically a guy that had the lowest IQ possible, just to show how tough he was on crime. I'm not impressed with what people do once they're in party. I'm going to look those up. If I click them, it'll kill my computer. Russia slapped a hypersonic missile into a children's hospital last week. Well, I listened to a couple of generals and lieutenant colonels about that. And apparently the target was military. And I hate to tell you that one of the people I listened to, and I'm not a military guy, said that the attack may have come, or the accident may have come from Ukrainian fire. It's not a foregone conclusion that Russia intentionally attacked a children's hospital, nor was it clear that the Ukraine intended to kill children and civilians on the beach on Sunday. They launched weaponry that may have just gone off track. Look, in war, which we provoked, anything can happen. And Spiny, if you want to be right on this, go ahead. My argument with you is Russia is strong. Russia has been restrained. Those provinces mostly were Russian. They were going to have votes. And the Ukraine has 28 nuclear power complexes. And we are playing with nuclear annihilation across the globe. But if you want to be right, and it's worth it to you, you might get your chance. I think it's a complete mistake. I do not, it sounds like you still listen to our mainstream media, but I do not believe that Russia targeted the children's hospital. And I'll try to, I'll write that down. I'll try to back up what I said by quoting the woman, the lieutenant colonel, general who's a woman, and the 2 or 3 lieutenant colonels I listened to. But I'll write that down. Amazing if it would be. Kamala. Well, that's what they said about Truman. Maybe she can, once she's in power, she can impress us. Maybe I was sarcastic. I was partly doing that because I can't come out outright and say directly what I thought because of censorship. But I guess I got my point across, and I hear you. I don't need to be sarcastic. I don't think Harris is better. That's the exact, Thomas. It's the exact opposite. I may have said it, but I think Lou is correct. I was being sarcastic. She's a nightmare. I think Kamala Harris is a nightmare. And I think more than that, she talks down. But Thomas, I want to say something to you. I don't think KYP is race baiting. I do not think that. So I'd appreciate it that you don't accuse her of that. Oh. Well, Biden is quoted in the press as saying he didn't want his children to attend or go to the jungle, which was the high schools at that time. Look, we have to live in our own generations. KYP's a lot younger than Biden. And a lot of people say Biden, including civil rights heroes like Clyburn and others say that Biden and Barack Obama say that Biden is a good man. So I don't know how to say it. I can have opinions, but I can never live. You remember that book? I think it was called Walk in My Shoes or something like that. It was a guy who tried to live as an African American. Back then it was called something else. And he wrote about it. And I don't remember. I might have finished the book, but I remember reading it. I may. Back then I told myself to always finish books. But one thing I got out of it that sticks with me decades later is I can't experience what it's like to not be white. I cannot experience that. So I can have an opinion, but what's my opinion worth? Very little, I would imagine. Very little. Your brother works for the Republican Party. I'd love to meet him if he's down here. I'm still a Democrat, but I'd still love to meet him. You work for Tom Cotton? See, I'm not a big fan of Tom Cotton. Thank you, Thomas, for the $2. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know about that tape. But KYP, I have to say that I've heard, I guess, more than I've read, because I haven't been able to find it in. But remember back then, KYP, no newspaper would probably go after the senior Trump for that. It was different back then. So anyway, I haven't been able to find it, but I'm inclined completely to believe you on his father. I hope he never did it, never used that word himself. I really do. I really do. don't commit crimes like Hunter Biden, like Jared Kushner's father, rumored, alleged, like who's the guy with the wide stance, that senator? Like, it's not just the crimes, it's access to lawyers, it's access to the best service through the justice system. I think that's highly unfair. You're a young kid, you're caught for the third time with, I don't know, I don't do drugs, a bag of something. You don't have an attorney. You're out there just going through your teenage years and you're locked up for life, or your 20s. I don't. And it's not always as simple as don't commit the crimes. I think that's unfair. I hate that whole Republican argument, take personal responsibility. What responsibility do the criminals take in the financial markets, for example? None. None. I'm going to say it again. I completely respect KYP, and I totally respect her opinion and her point of view. And I find nothing that she says to be race baiting. I think she's trying to educate me, and she's trying to educate us, and I completely respect her. Hey, Jenny Yell. Your nieces, nephews are all biracial. Well, I haven't really experienced, I've never been married. But so, KYP knows how people can get caught up. It was Jesse Jackson that said, and by the way, I voted for him, KYP. I've lived in Virginia. I voted for him when he ran for president in the primaries. I met him too. But he said he was kind of addressing what these young men that appeared to be hoodlums. He said, look, just be aware, as late at night, there's a couple of guys walking with their hood up. Is that why it's hoodlum? Anyway, the hood up. And Jesse Jackson said this, that even Jesse Jackson, if he runs into a couple of guys in the wrong situation, even he initially reacts in a judgmental way. But he said, Jesse Jackson said, it's what you do in the next minute that matters. And I'm sure, we all have to be somewhat forgiving of each other because we're all, at essence, can be afraid. And we react. It's what we do right after that first reaction that is the judge of our character, I think. You see guilt on my part? I don't have white guilt. I grew up. My father almost became a priest. Then he met my mother. But I grew up with both blessings and severe challenges. My parents divorced. I've lived through very difficult times. I was warned by my mother never to fill out on any application that I was Catholic because of the discrimination. I'm not saying that's anywhere near what anyone else goes through. But I never lived, for example, the difficulty that I think people, at least in my time frame of growing up, who were minorities might experience going into a drugstore or into a diner. I didn't experience those things. I did experience it in reverse in Puerto Rico once, but I didn't live that. But I don't have white race is monolithical any more than I consider any other race monolithical. When people talk about how whites treat other races, remember how the British treated the Irish, my background. Remember how the Italians were treated in the United States when they got here, my background. So no, I don't have white guilt, but I do think I've had advantages because it's easy to judge, it's easy to blend in. But when I went for jobs, when I went for advancement, where'd your father go to school? Now, where'd you come from? Did you know the, Farron, are your father, it's all there. So no, I don't feel white guilt. And thank you for accusing me of something that I think is trying to put me down. I'm not trying to do that. Trump's been on the receiving end, but maybe that's God's way of teaching Trump what it's like. You know, it's easy to say things, don't commit the crime. Well, it's not always, pardon my pun, it's not always so black and white. Not everybody, but you're right. He's gaining ground. You're absolutely right. But not everybody loves him. And you got to hear why. And you got to listen to the other side. We can't be as dismissive as we feel some on the left are. It's not right. And if someone whose skin is much darker than mine has experienced and seen racism from Donald Trump, I have to listen to it, don't I? Listen, I went to school in the South, and I always had guys tell me this. Oh, well, there's white blanks and there's black blanks. And so when I use the blank word, I'm not being racist. It's just how people are. And I used to get into so many arguments. And every single time somebody talked like that, I stood up against it every single time because it's idiocy. The use of that word is racist, but when it's used by a white person, and you can say I'm not going to even repeat that word. I don't like that point of view. Thank you, KYP. Have you forgotten? No, I didn't. I haven't forgotten it. And I was in the middle of, I believe back then I worked at Merrill Lynch, and there was a lot of my life that I was just focused on my work every day. And I stopped reading books. I stopped traveling. I didn't go visit my dad when he asked me. Yeah, lots of things. I stopped for the large part. I stopped sport. Anyway, so I didn't study it as closely then as I should have, but I do remember, and I was against his point of view, by the way, and against. I'm trying to remember who else was against it. Was it Giuliani? And I can't remember which side Hillary was on, but I think Bill Clinton was supportive. I can't remember. So KYP, I have to go reacquaint myself with it, but I do remember what you're saying, just not detail by detail. And I think it's a black mark. Sorry, our stupid English language. I think it's a very bad reflection. Yeah, I agree with that. Although I do think that I've seen people get a job just because of who they're, there has to be some evening up. But I do agree with your point. You have to be qualified. But not everyone. KYP. Don't attack KYP. What's this? Huma on Zip Trader U2B. So we got to, yeah, I wrote down Huma. I wrote down human. I believe you, KYP. I've never been a fan of Tom Cotton. I will admit I don't completely know him. One day voting puts the country at risk, makes everyone vulnerable. They do it other places. So maybe you do it online. John, we all went there in racism from other cultures, living proof growing up in the projects. Well, I know it's a small thing. It didn't cause me horrendous harm. But when I went to school in the South, there were no Catholic churches. There was one, and I didn't have a car. You couldn't get there. And there was one other family, the McBrides. I went once with them. It was uncomfortable, but I don't think it. Then again, I never filled out a form that said always left it blank. I agree. The American way is to stand up, and I admire you. I admire others here, Stephen and others for saying their point of view. But I don't get I really think Stephen and Craig and others. I think we can't get personal. Otherwise, we lose what we're trying to do. You don't like Biden. Well, what if it's RFK? Let's see what the news is. Trump rules out 2 top VP contenders. He rules out. He rules out Marco Rubio. He rules out Doug Burgum. J.D. Vance is now the clear front runner. Shock choice Glenn Youngkin. I don't like it. Yeah, they're keeping us divided and vote for whomever. My brother is here as a campaign coordinator for the Republican Party. I agree with KYP, and someday I'll meet your brother. Someday I'll meet you. Look, some of the problems that we're facing in the United States are inevitable. The decline of the dollar, the decline, and by the way, a lot of it was set in place by Republican policies as far back as Ronald Reagan. So you got to put it all in context, I think. Both parties suck. KYP says the one thing that probably everyone agrees with. Oh, Steve says it's the first thing he agrees with. RFK would change things. I hope so. I love JFK. I used to, KYP, I used to give JFK some short shrift because I wondered, but now I give him full credit because he was slow a little bit, just like Lincoln. But you know, you got to live within the constraints you have. I loved. I now really think highly of him and RFK. And I really liked, for all of his flaws, I really liked the courage that Teddy showed. I loved it when he would get up in the Senate and would fight. Anyway, I like the Kennedys very much. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Arkin's side. I appreciate your politics, KYP. We'll try to, bud. Yeah, okay. So there's an important thing. Biden apologized. He had his come to Jesus moment. I'm not sure Trump's ever apologized for anything. He comes from the, what's that guy's name? Bobby Kennedy was on the McCarthy, Steve Cohn. What's the lawyer Cohn? Ray Cohn? Ron Cohn? Steve Cohn? Ray Cohn? Anyway, he was taught by that guy. If someone attacks you, you attack back. I agree with you. I don't think he's ever apologized. Yeah, Holdor, that's a good point. They both seem to be, the way the parties are currently aligned, they both seem to be, what's the word? Centrist. The Jewish man had a recording of Trump's father calling. That's horrible. And that's one thing I've always had, KYP, in the back of my head about Fred Trump. I don't like it. Jenny L. Jenny Rebecca Ford. Thank you, KYP. KYP. Did I hear anything about the finger dividend? No, I mean, it's still with the SEC. They need to approve it. Ham is pushing for the dividend to be reduced, the exercise price, the warrant, to be reduced to $3. I think that's a mistake. I think they should leave it at $7. But, you know, the story's still the same. You're awaiting for the SEC to approve it. That's what you're waiting for. And they haven't approved it yet. And Lou, I grew up in the Italian section of Lawrence, Mass. Went to Catholic grammar school in high school. I thought everyone was Catholic. I always felt completely oddball about it. I was just very fortunate to have the father I did. I still feel out of place when I go to Catholic Mass. And I think a lot of it comes from my mother. And anyway, enough about me. Uh-oh, it's going to be frickin' J.D. Vance. I don't want J.D. Vance. He grew up in Kentucky, went to Harvard, and wrote a book. Great. I don't want J.D. Vance. All right, so it's not going to be Rubio, Burgum. Colonel Douglas McGregor said that he has a source that J.D. Vance is going to be the vice president. CKYP, he always picks the white guy. I think it's a missed opportunity. He kind of looks, J.D. Vance with his beard, looks like Eric, and I like Eric Trump. So, no, I don't think the SEC gives one whit about FingerMotion. It's one of many, many stocks. They're not delaying it intentionally. I don't think the SEC believes there's a large short position in Finger. I don't think the SEC believes that we can catch out short positions. I don't think the SEC believes that there's anything wrong with what the system does by selling shares that don't exist and putting in your accounts IOUs. And I don't think the SEC believes that the system will ever be caught out on that problem. They were caught out with MMTLP. And you see what they did. There were some trades, I can't remember, TKO and HKD and some others that ran. But I don't think the SEC feels like that. Those are big enough to be a problem. And in fact, one of those seemed to help out Ken Griffin, Citadel. Seemed to. So, no, I do not believe the SEC is delaying the announcement of the dividend approval on the risks that there could be a short squeeze. Not at all. Let me just check to see if there's any news today on it. No news on FingerMotion today. I'm so disappointed, KYP. I really am. I think Byron Donalds would have been perfect. I actually think Tulsi Gabbard would have been perfect. And what an out-of-the-box thought that it could be RFK Jr. Although I remember now as I'm talking, I think RFK turned it down. FingerMotion is at 218. 155,000 shares, 216 to 218. The $3 strike price on Finger is 5 cents to 10 cents. Is it pounceable? Or is it a mistake? DJT is almost $42. So my instinct, I'm not taking credit because I wasn't positive, but my instinct when we first came on that it's a good time to buy into DJT might have been right. Might have. Logic, on the other hand, is down. I think that's the bid. That's starting to seem like the way it trades, it's starting to seem like maybe they issued some shares, but we'll find out. All right, so I'm at the end of questions. It's almost 3 o'clock. I think I'm going to sign off. Thank you for everybody listening. Thank you for you guys that were debating KYP. The only part of it I didn't like is personal attacks on KYP. I'd appreciate in the future you don't do that. But I don't think she minds that you have an opposing point of view. Thank you, KYP, for challenging me. I appreciate it. And I think I'm going to go have lunch. So peace, love, happiness. Good luck to everybody.
Call from.
Hey, hang on just 1 second. Hang on 1 second. All right, everyone. Cheers.